history to the home team. I'm going to say no. I think the line is wrong. I'll take FAU plus the points.
Okay, I like it. Moving on over, we got the Camellia Bowl, Florida International against Arkansas State. State is 2.5-point favorites, 63-point over-under. Arkansas State's now lost, but played in this particular bowl game, the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Very high-scoring offense, very poor defense. How does this one shake out for you?
This is a tough one to call. FIU is a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde because they were really good at home and really bad on the road, and this is a neutral site game. James Morgan, that's a positive for FIU, this kid from South Florida. It's his last game with the Golden Panthers. FIU has a great pass defense, and that's what Arkansas State does best, but Arkansas State doesn't really play defense. In fact, the Red Wolves' defense the last 4 games, 34, 33, 27, and 41. Omar Bayless is the best player probably on the field. He's going to be a second or third round pick in the NFL draft coming up. So that's an interesting name to watch. But this is the first pass game for me here on the bowl stream here. I just don't have a strong enough feeling either way on this game. If I had to make a pick for a pool, perhaps it would just be taking the points with FIU. But they've let me down a couple of times this year, and their biggest win was against the University of Miami on a neutral site. They played that game at Marlins Park. But Arkansas State can sling it a little bit, and it wouldn't shock me to see this go right down to the end with a kick at the end. So there are better games to play, I think, than this one.
All right, so this is the first one we will leave alone. No pick, no lean, and there's nothing wrong with that. Las Vegas Bowl, let's talk about this one. It's Washington, 3.5-point favorites over the Boise State boys. And last game here for Chris Peterson at Washington, is there added motivation for this one?
Yeah, this is the best game of the weekend to watch for sure because you have 2 really good programs. Washington would be supremely disappointed if, this is the game that they end up in at the start of the season. This is not what they expected. Boise State, of course, never gets respect. All they do is win bowl games. But yeah, I would think that there is motivation there. Here is a big part of this game, though. The Huskies are going to be without Hunter Bryant, who's probably a top 5 NFL draft pick at the tight end position next year. In fact, his stats at tight end are as good as any tight end in the country. Take a look at him. 52 catches, 825 yards. That's great for a college tight end and 3 touchdowns. Also, Trey Adams, who's going to be a first-round pick left tackle, also not playing in this game for Washington. So that's pretty big. But that's kind of negated a little bit because Boise State's offensive coordinator, Zach Hill, decided to leave, and he's going to Arizona State. And so they're saying all the right things, obviously, that they're not going to miss him and so on and so forth. But I think those things kind of cancel out each other a little bit. Peterson has not been good in bowl games. He's just 1-4 against the spread. Washington crushed BYU. Boise State lost to BYU. So this really does seem like a very close game, Howard, and not one that I have a strong opinion on. But I will lean toward taking the points here in Boise State. Some will feel that the Huskies are going to want to go out on a good note and give Peterson a win.
Right.
But the last 5 times he's played in bowl games, he's 1-4. So whatever the preparation has gone into hasn't really worked for them. They're without their tight end. They're without their offensive lineman. Boise State, they've played with 3 different quarterbacks this season and are still in a pretty significant bowl game for them. So the lean will be, and any pool pick that you would do would be to take Boise State in the points, plus 3.5.
All right, down to the Big Easy in the New Orleans Bowl. You got friend of wager alarm, Appalachian State. They did us right last week in the ultimate football contest for the Nugget. They're going up against UAB. Appalachian State's a 17-point favorite, but momentum clearly on their side. They've won their last 5 straight games. Haven't turned over the ball in 3 games. That's big.
Yeah, and another guy coaching App State leaving. This is 3 years in a row. Elijah Drinkwitz, he took the job at Missouri because everybody wants App State's coaches because they run the ball so well and they win a lot of games, and it makes sense. UAB's best win this season was against Louisiana Tech. They lost to FAU, the team we just talked about, 49-6. They lost to Southern Miss 37-2. So UAB is clearly not a good team. All of the assistant coaches for App State are going to probably leave and go with Drinkwitz, but they all committed to staying through this game to help them win. In general, just as a rule, over the last few years, teams that are bigger favorites in the bowl games for whatever reason have won and covered. I'm not always going to be on that side. In this particular play for a bowl game, I probably would lay the 17 points, But for wagering purposes, I'm going to straight up pass this game between App State and UAB. If you're playing in a pool like the Fantasy Alarm pool, my recommendation would be to take Appalachian State and lay those points. Don't like doing it in general, but bowl history tells you that when a team is this big a favorite on a neutral site, remember, if the game was at Appalachian State, it would probably be 21-point favorites. Neutral site, you only lay 17. UAB is not very good. They snuck into a bowl game.
All right. Next on up, it's the ugly stepsister to root beer. It's the Gasparilla Bowl. You got
what a nonsense bowl this is. Think about this one. After the weekend of bowls are over, they're playing this at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Monday. Like who is going to be watching this one? Like the Hawaii Bowl makes sense. Everyone's home. It's Christmas Eve. Hawaii is 5 hours behind. We get to chill out. Turn the TV on. We'll watch Hawaii play BYU. But who is going to this game and who's going to see this game? And this is early in the bowl season. Like, I guess they can't compete against Monday Night Football. They're not going to do that, But make the game 5 o'clock at least or something. 2:30 in the afternoon on Monday. I don't get it.
I'll hit them up and I'll let them know that you disapprove. Central Florida, maybe that's why. Maybe it's Central Florida and you feel the need to watch all of your Florida colleges play. So UCF going up against Marshall. Wait, is Marshall the underdog or is Marshall the favorite? I thought Marshall was the favorite by 17.
No, they're getting 17.
They're getting the 17.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, see, that's what I like. I like that. So talk to me here about these two.
Well, the UCF fans, the Knights fans, are going to be able to travel an hour and a half to go see their home team play if they want. But this is a very disappointing bowl game for UCF after having the season that they had last year and everyone giving them the national championship. They've lost games this season that nobody expected. They're playing before Christmas Day. And listen, Doc Holliday, the head coach of Marshall, how can you go against this? This is like something you just – not every trend is doable in the bowls, but this is one you got to pay attention to. Doc Holliday's head coach at Marshall, 6-0, straight up, and against the spread in bowl games. Last 6 years, 6-0. They won 38-20 last year against USF. That doesn't mean all that much. They fired Charlie Strong this year. UCF wasn't really that good. They lost 6 games to end the season. The only fear would be is that the game just gets out of hand early and then Marshall can't come back. But I don't think that there is any motivation for UCF in this game. And they'll probably win, but 17.5 points over a team that hasn't lost or not covered a bowl game in 6 years, got to take the points in this one. We're going to take Marshall plus 17.5.
Right on. All right, Christmas Eve, we're talking about the Hawaii Bowl. BYU, 1.5 favorite over the home team, Hawaii. BYU crushed Western Michigan last bowl season, 37-18, but quarterback Zach Wilson, not very good this year.
Yeah,
not good at all.
A lot of people thought that Zach Wilson from BYU was going to not jump into that category of the top quarterbacks, but take that kind of next step, and he really didn't. Hawaii's been horrible as a favorite. They have a minus 14 turnover margin, but they did lose their bowl game at home last year. Remember, Hawaii usually plays in the Hawaii Bowl as long as they're respectable. They're 6-6 or 7-6. They usually play with 2 quarterbacks. One of them has been hurt. This kid Cordero, I don't even think he's as good as their other one. So Cole McDonald is their other quarterback. I mean, this guy could throw for 5 touchdowns in this game, easy, no problem. BYU's offense has been a lot better as the season has gone on. I don't see these two teams on Christmas Eve have any interest of playing any defense in this game, Howard. I think this is going to fly over the 64 points, and we'll pick this will be a pick for us here. We're going to go over 64 points in the Hawaii Bowl. I think this is just going to be up and down and up and down. There's going to be Hawaii's going to throw some picks. BYU probably makes some mistakes, and you may say, oh, well, that's not good if they throw picks. Yeah, but then the team intercepts, they run it all the way back for a touchdown. You'll have a pick 6 in this game between BYU and Hawaii. So we'll go over that 64. I think it's somewhere in the 70 range for this one.
Let's prop bet it, man. I'll set the over-under on pick 6s at 1.5 in this game. What do you want?
I'll go under that. I can't go over a pick.
We'll see about that.
All right.
We'll see. Next game here after Christmas. It's the 26th. You got the Independence Bowl, Miami, 6.5 point favorites over Louisiana Tech. Over under on this one is 50. Talk to me here. Where's your lean on this one?
I don't know how Miami's 6.5-point favorites over anybody.
Anybody.
They lost to FIU at the end of the season. I know Louisiana Tech isn't that good. They lost their starting quarterback for the season, and that's part of it. It's the ACC. It's a much better conference than Louisiana Tech's. But Miami lost to Duke and FIU to end the season. They also lost to Georgia Tech. Look, Louisiana Tech lost all their mojo at the end of the season. They lost their quarterback. They went 1-2. Skip Holtz, Louisiana Tech's coach, 5-0 in bowl games straight up, 4-1 against the spread. That seems like a pretty good trend to me. Miami 2-4 in their last 6 bowls. They're also going to be without 3 players, 2 on defense who decided to leave. It's been a disaster at the end of the season for the Hurricanes. Jeff Thomas, who's Miami's top wide receiver, also is headed toward the NFL. Some people have questioned that decision. I would guess Thomas will probably be a mid-round pick, 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick. He didn't do enough in college to be a 1st or 2nd, I don't think. But we're absolutely going to take the points here. We're going to take Louisiana Tech. Very disappointing for Miami to end up in this game. There were actually people here where I live in South Florida, because, again, I'm in the media saying, oh, Miami they should decline their bowl invitation. That's how bad they played at the end of the year. So, I mean, the other side of that is that if it's just conference versus conference, you would think that the talent on Miami is just so far superior to Louisiana Tech. But they just, I mean, how do you can't lose. I'm sorry, this is no indictment on FIU. You can't lose to FIU on a neutral site and then be 7-point favorites against Louisiana Tech. I'm sorry, you can't. So we have to take Louisiana Tech in this game. Got to do it.
All right. Next up, formerly known as the Cheddar Blasted Goldfish Cracker Bowl. Now it's the Quick Lane Bowl.
Easy enough.
You got Pittsburgh, 11.5-point favorites over Eastern Michigan. The Panthers, 0-4 in their last 4 bowl games.
And 11.5-point favorites in this one? I don't understand it. I must be missing something, but that trend of big favorites covering has really only a lean for me in this game, because I can't really figure out how Pittsburgh could be such a big favorite. They played under a lot this year. 8 out of the last 11 games they played have gone under the total. The game is in Michigan, so you would think, okay, well, this gives Eastern Michigan some advantage, but are really a lot of Eastern Michigan fans, Howard, going to travel to go see them play in the 20-degree weather against Pittsburgh in the Quick Lane Bowl next week? The answer is no. So I'm just going to lean here toward taking the points in Eastern Michigan. If you have a play in a pool, probably you should take Eastern Michigan. I'm not a big fan of what Pitt has done this season, but they clearly are the better team and they're the more talented team. But what could possibly be the motivation to play in this game for either team? It's snowing and 20-degree weather the day after.
Yeah, we're going to
the day after Christmas, spending Christmas in Detroit.
Right?
Give me the points.
You know what? 2 years ago, you said very similar things about the snowstorms and the problems they were having at the Pinstripe Bowl.
Yeah.
So
one of my favorite plays this year is the Pinstripe Bowl. We'll get to that.
Oh, good. That's a pro tease. That's a pro tease right there. I like it. We'll get to that one later on. Military Bowl, though. North Carolina, 4.5-point favorites over Temple right now. Neither team actually in a military academy, but it's the Military Bowl.
Well, they're playing the Military Bowl. Yeah, and listen, North Carolina at the beginning of the season looked like they were going to get off to a good start, and they did. Mac Brown really looked like he was turning that thing around. There was an exciting win at the beginning of the year, and then things just kind of got back to the way North Carolina's done football over the last few years. On the flip side, the Owls, conversely did not look good at all at the beginning of the season. Never would have guessed that they would even be involved in a bowl game, but they finished the season 4-0. Against the spread. They beat USF. That's nothing great, but they beat Tulane. They covered against Cincinnati. Good team. And then they beat Connecticut, obviously horrible. Rod Carey took over for Matt Rule, who is now at Baylor. So we'll talk about Baylor in a little bit. And he was the head coach of Northern Illinois and did not at least get his kids. I mean, it's not fair to say Rod Carey didn't get his kids ready, because I don't know, and I don't know what happened in Northern Illinois, but they never won a bowl game with him. So, I'll go stronger than a lean here, and I'll take the points again and take Temple plus the 4.5. It's like just above a lean to take a pick here and to take Temple in the points, because North Carolina did not finish the season very well, and I think these teams are more or less even.
All right. I can dig that. Speaking of not finishing the season well, let's bring it to your favorite game here, the Pinstripe Bowl. Michigan State, how are they a 4.5-point favorite against Wake Forest? Listen, I know Wake Forest isn't that good, but Michigan State, last 7 games, atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
Yeah, this will probably be my favorite one so far. Now, Wake Forest really struggled down the stretch. A lot of guys started getting hurt. They started losing a lot of games. But now they've had a few weeks to kind of get it together here a little bit. I've watched Michigan State play this year, Howard. I don't get it. I don't. There is some talk, by the way, and again, we'll have to see how this will play in. And look, if Mark D'Antonio, if he ends up leaving, that may press some people toward taking Michigan State, win one for the coach to go out that way. But look at these last 7 games. 21-point loss to Penn State.
Right.
3-point loss at home to Illinois. Everyone remembers that game. Illinois was going nuts. They followed that up with a 34-point loss to Michigan. They beat Rutgers. And then they
did not cover the spread, though.
No. And they beat Maryland by 3. They didn't cover that game either. 8-17 in their last 25 games. Their quarterback play has been horrible. Wake is not a great team, but the Pinstripe Bowl has had a lot of underdog winners through the years. Another cold game. Does Michigan State really want to be there? What's the point of this one? I really like Wake Forest a lot. I think they win the game outright. Plus 4.5. Take Wake Forest. Yeah.
Happy to take the Demon Deacons in that one. Texas Bowl coming up next. Oklahoma State against Texas A&M. Hey, the Aggies are actually 7-point favorites in this one. The over/under is at 54.5. Another game without Spencer Sanders, though, for OSU. Can they pull this one out?
Yeah. Spencer Sanders is really the story. He was great with Oklahoma State. Gundy's a great offensive coach, but you can't just take the best quarterback off your team. And he's got some nice young players and some recruits, and their backup played pretty well. But I can understand why the line, and it probably should be Texas A&M -7. I think it's moved down to 6.5. OSU finished the season with 3 straight unders. That shouldn't shock you because they don't have their quarterback. Texas A&M finished with 3 straight unders. That shouldn't shock you either because they play pretty good defense. And look, OSU's covered 5 straight bowl games, but that was when they had a quarterback there. So Chuba Hubbard, who we know very well, is going to probably get abused in this game. Like they're going to pull it. This is going to be a McCaffrey game for Chuba Hubbard. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to run the ball. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to run the ball. And look, maybe he runs for 600 yards and this game goes over the total. But I see this just being 2 teams that are going to run the ball a lot. Not much to say in terms of passing. Another play I like a lot, under 54.5 points in the Texas Bowl.
Beautiful. Holiday Bowl coming up next. USC against Iowa. Both teams won 5 out of 6 games to end the season. Talk to me here because, there's a lot going on with Iowa right now.
Right. Okay, so one rule of thumb in the bowl games and again, for this one, we're really not going to have a pick, but a rule of thumb if you're playing in a pool, and sometimes the way that I do these pools in college is I'll go through the ones, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about if you're watching this. I'll go through the ones that I definitely am good on. Like I'll click, yes. Oh, maybe I'll come back to that one. Click. I'll come back to that one. And anytime that you have to come back to one, Howard, and it's a Pac-12 team, when you go back to it, go against the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 historically has not fared well in these bowl games. I mean, Howard, Utah, right on the doorstep of playing and maybe getting blown out by LSU next week, maybe. But all they had to do was win. I mean, they're dying to put a Pac-12 team into the end. Oregon, they fell apart at the end of the season too. I mean, it is just, every year it's the same thing with them. So, look, Iowa's laying 2. It's really hard to figure this game because USC is actually playing well at the end of the season for a change. The key for them, the top player in this game, top player on the field is Michael Pittman Jr. He's probably going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft, wide receiver. He says he's playing in the game. There have been some people that aren't sure, and it seems like a 90% chance he plays with that small percentage that he doesn't. We'll have to keep an eye on that. The Iowa doesn't score a lot of points, but they don't give up a lot of points. Iowa's only given up 18 touchdowns. Think about this, all season. That's the second least in all of college football. So is USC going to have their way with Iowa? Probably not. They gave Clay Helton, their head coach, a vote of confidence. They said he's going to be back next season, and there was some talk Urban Meyer would be the coach there. Helton probably deserved another shot. I know that the fans of USC don't want to hear that, but I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling about this. If I'm in a pool, I'm taking Iowa, but beyond that, it's a no play for me. I don't like this game.
I like it. I like it. All right, next one. One of our favorites. It's the Cheez-Its Bowl. We all know how much we love the Cheez-Its Bowl, but it's Washington State against Air Force. Air Force is a -3 favorite here. You know how I feel about my academies. They run the triple option in Air Force all the time. You want to talk about teams that struggle against the run, struggle against Air Force. I'm already leaning Air Force on this one.
You're in. You're all in on Air Force.
Bam. It was Navy against Army last week. Push the chips in.
Army was a military academy too, though. Don't slight that.
Yeah, I know, but this time here for Air Force against Washington State, and we'll get to Navy later.
Right.
Because I might. Apparently, we've lost Craig Mish. So I'll tell you what.
I think we lost you there for a second.
No, I think we lost you there, buddy.
Sells, what's the final call on that? There you go. All right. It wasn't
Howard cut out.
For a change, it wasn't me. I don't know where we left you, but let's continue. Air Force has won 6 straight games to end the season. They beat Hawaii. They beat Utah State. Washington State has lost 3 straight bowl games. Anthony Gordon, their quarterbacks, had a good year. Of course, this is under Mike Leach and the air raid offense. Everyone knows about that. He's probably been better than Gardner Minshew. Everybody knows who Gardner Minshew is. Pac-12 teams has gotten to this bowl the last 6 years. Guess what their record is in the Pac-12? 1-5. We're going to take Air Force. Air Force
Beautiful. -3. Air Force -3 it is. All right, Camping World Bowl, Iowa State, Notre Dame. The Irish are 3.5-point favorites. It's an over-under of 54. Iowa State last 7 bowl games went under, pushed once. Are we looking at a possible under again here?
It could be. These are 2 teams. Interestingly enough, Ian Book, the quarterback at Notre Dame, hasn't decided what he's going to do. But he says he's playing in the game, but he hasn't decided what he's going to do. He'd probably be best served to come back, I think, and play another year. Last 7 bowl games, Iowa State went under 6 times. They pushed once. Last 4 bowl games for Notre Dame, they won by an average of 20. Last 4 wins during the regular season, they won by an average of 29 points. I shouldn't say bowl game. We know what happened to Clemson. Brock Purdy for Iowa State is a name to watch, I think, in the future in the NFL. He really came on at the end of the season, 27 touchdown passes, 8 rushing touchdowns. And you know that everyone in the NFL is going to start to try and mimic what Lamar Jackson did. Purdy's a really good quarterback. Ian Book is just a passer, 33 touchdowns, 6 picks. Notre Dame, when they get into these bowl games, Howard, I don't know. Like, it's just like a different animal for them. When they get out of that out-of-conference schedule and they're not at home, and we saw what happened to Clemson last year, I'm just going to pass the game. I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I probably would lean toward taking Notre Dame, but I'm going to just pass this one.
Okay. All right. Let's move over to the Cotton Bowl then. Memphis against Penn State. Memphis's coach, Mike Norvell, he's actually leaving to go to FSU. But here you go. This is the interesting one, I think. Penn State's a 7-point favorite. Memphis has never been an underdog this year.
Nope,
never.
That's amazing, right? No game.
None.
They haven't been an underdog in any game.
Favored the entire time.
They finished the season 12-1. It's weird. I guess we're going to go with 2 teams that have lost their coaches, and I don't usually do that. But the only team that Penn State beat by more than 7 points this season, Buffalo and Michigan State. So I really think that Memphis has a chance to win this game outright. They had a great year. Penn State, I don't think that they're disappointed necessarily to be in this game, and Franklin, their head coach, really gets his kids up for games. So I think Penn State probably wins the game, but this is just too many points to play on a neutral site. So we're going to take Memphis plus the points here, and I do like this pick.
Happy to do it. Very happy to do it. I actually like Memphis.
Now to the bigger games.
Are you ready? Here we go. You're super excited now. We're semifinal matchup for the national championship. You got the Peach Bowl, Oklahoma, LSU. The Tigers are a 14-point favorite. Over under 76. Are we going to see any defense in this game?
Not from Oklahoma. That we're not going to see. Their defensive end suspended for this game. Their backup running back suspended for this game, and then an irrelevant wide receiver just got suspended yesterday. This is just a lot of points to lay. And again, if you're going to do this and go by the bowl trends and bowl theories, the teams that are 2 touchdowns or more favorites, they cover. So for a lean, I'll lean toward LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that they're kind of that team of destiny to at least get to the championship. I don't know that they're going to win it. They opened up at 12. That was the time to bet it. Not now. 14-point spread. I'm going to just say enjoy the game. Hate to have a pass such a big game like this. So for pools, I'll say take LSU. But for betting purposes, it's gotten too high for me in this one. And again, this is the perfect game that we've talked about on live streams before. 38-16, with 30 seconds left. Oklahoma scores a meaningless touchdown, gets a 2-point conversion. They cover. You're on the right side the whole game, and you end up losing. I can't do it. Too many points.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the other side then. You got the Fiesta Bowl, Clemson against Ohio State. Clemson a 2-point favorite. This one actually, Ohio State opened up as a 1-point favorite, and the line is now moved. Talk to me about that.
Everyone says the same thing about Clemson. They haven't been challenged all year, but they said that last year. They said that the year before. I think Clemson is the best team in college football. I think they have the best quarterback in college football. I think they have the best running back in college football, and we're finally going to get to see it against some good competition. Takes nothing away from Ohio State because Ohio State is as talented a team as there is in college football, but when they get on the stage, I think Clemson's going to win. 7 of the past 9 Fiesta Bowl games have gone over the total. Clemson also beat Ohio State in the 2016 Fiesta Bowl. Now a different team for sure. What was the score in that one? 31-0. I loved Clemson as getting a point. That was like a gift. The line is now -2. Could it come down to this at the end, a point or two? So, it certainly could. I think the world would love to see a LSU Clemson national championship. I probably will end up taking Clemson in that one too. They fly under the radar the whole year because I guess their quality of competition is not so great, but then they're beating teams by 30 or 40 points the last 6 games of the year. Trevor Lawrence, to me, Howard, is better than Joe Burrow. He's the best quarterback that's going to come out of college in the last decade, I think, maybe since Peyton Manning or someone like that. I love Trevor Lawrence. It wasn't a great regular season for him, but what were they playing for? They were just playing to win to get to this point. Right. Swinney is probably either the best coach in college football or second best behind Nick Saban. Got to take Clemson in this one for sure, -2.
Beautiful. All right, next up there on the 30th, you got the First Responder Bowl, Western Kentucky, a 4-point favorite over Western Michigan. Western Kentucky was a 2.5-point favorite. That's now moved up to -4. Sounds like we're going to be laying some points.
Yeah, this is one where I really liked it when Western Kentucky was -2.5 or even 3. Now that it's at 4, a little different because Western Michigan can score points, and I've seen that in a few games this year. This used to be the Heart of Dallas Bowl, and the favorites in the Heart of Dallas Bowl have won 8 times in a row. That's a trend that you can't go against. WMU, the Broncos, they lost their chance at the MAC title game, the last game of the season, so they lost a lot of motivation there for sure. This is probably just a lean toward Western Kentucky. I think it's a close game, maybe comes down to a field goal at the end. Feels like some young kicker is going to be lining up to kick a field goal at the end to either win or lose the spread for us. So in the pools, we'll take the favorite here, but just a lean.
Okay. Music City Bowl next. Mississippi State -4 over Louisville. Louisville, who's a team that you and I tracked a lot during the season in the Golden Nugget contest, was a good solid matchup for them. But you take a look at what happened to Louisville in that last game of the year against Kentucky. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, and that got me off this. I was hoping that we would get into a spot where Louisville would be playing in a bowl game, maybe a pick-em or 2 or 3. And this is just strictly telling you that the odds makers are saying that the SEC is better than the ACC, which is really true. And it's like that ACC tax you're paying here to lay 4 points with Mississippi State. It does make me a little bit worried facing a good defensive team in the SEC. Believe it or not, these teams met 2 years ago. Exact same situation in the bowl game. Lamar Jackson was the coach of Louisville. He had his worst game ever in the bowl game. He threw 4 picks. The quality of competition was really good there. I just don't see an edge for either team. I'd lean toward Louisville, and I would lean toward taking the points slightly. This is a no play for me.
All right. Next one up is the Redbox Bowl. I don't know what Redbox is. I can imagine
Isn't that where you get the DVDs still?
No. That's redtube.com.
No. I'm serious. No, when you go to the grocery store, isn't that box there that you put the $10 in and it spits out the DVD? Isn't that a red box? No.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Howard, for that.
The voice from above.
We lost our PG rating in one fell swoop, just like that.
What are you talking about? Sorry, I thought it was something else.
No, it was not. But maybe there'll be Tony the Tiger sponsoring a bowl, so anybody can, I guess.
That bowl game is going to be great.
All right. Good one. All right. So Illinois, Cal. Cal is -6.5 in this game because the game is very close to them. This is the closest game in proximity for them as in any bowl.
Pac-12.
It's Pac-12. That's
Pac-12.
the deal.
Stop it.
We're fading the Pac-12. That's the point. Extra motivation for sure for Illinois. Is Illinois great? No. Are they good? Probably not. But this is their first bowl game in a long time. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Slug it out. We're going to fade the Pack again, and it's too many points. We're going to go with Lovie Smith, the head coach of Illinois. We're going to take those 6.5 points. I think that the motivation is all on the side of Illinois, of the Illini in this one. Like, what a great season they could cap off with if they could actually win this game coming up next week. So we'll take Illinois plus the points. I like the game.
Points. I like it. All right, Orange Bowl. Your Gators, baby, against Virginia. Your Gators are a 14.5 point favorite.
Wow.
Well, as we say, if you're going to take a lean and you're looking at the 2 score or more covers, we're going Gators, aren't we?
Yeah, you have to do that again because that's been the trend. The teams.
Or did you just set this up because you're a Gators guy?
No, I like Florida in this one. The total's also 55. But just because the totals have been low, Florida's gone over some of those totals because they've had some breakout games offensively. So they're the better team here. It's just a matter if they score enough points to win. This is a home game basically for the Gators. This is going to be 60,000 people in Sun Life Stadium, which is where the Dolphins play. It's going to be all Gators in this one. Nobody from Virginia is traveling to see their team a 14-point underdog play against Florida. That ain't happening. Bryce Perkins, the quarterback of Virginia, either he has a great game or he has a horrible game. I would guess in this one he probably has a horrible game because the Gators do have a good defense. So Florida, they cover their last 3 games, but they do go through these slumps offensively within the game that if a team can get up on them 10-7 or 13-7, it's really hard to cover a 14-point spread. You can't even get 14 anymore. It's 14.5. So we'll lean toward the Gators here, -14.5.
All right. Another one that I have no idea the Belk Bowl.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Belk is?
Not really. But this bowl has been around for a while, though.
Really? Belk Bowl.
Isn't this the Tony the Tiger one or no?
Is Tony the Tiger the Belk Bowl? If we can get a ruling from the voice from above, Matt Sells, our producer. What the...
Oh, that's right.
Belk is a department, so it has nothing to do with Tony the Tiger, unless you're buying those like zebra pants that we all used to wear in the 80s. So maybe that's what you can do. All right, Belk Bowl, Kentucky, Virginia Tech. Hokies are a 2.5 point favorite here. It's the Bud Foster remembrance game. He's retiring after all this time. And
100 years.
100
years. He's coached 100 years at Virginia Tech, it feels
like.
He
really has. So what is it, 30 years?
Long time.
3 decades?
I think 40. I don't know. It's been a long time. But this is one of the teams I got wrong at the beginning of the season. Virginia Tech had a much better year than I thought that they were going to. Jim Bowden's son, Lynn Bowden. No, I'm just kidding. He's not his son. But his name is Lynn Bowden, quarterback for Kentucky, 284 yards last week against Louisville. They're a top 10 rushing team in the country. Kentucky, all of a sudden, toward the end of the year, started to pick it up a little bit. And it's interesting. They also went under 6 games in a row. But then Bowden really found himself and started running like crazy. They scored 38, 50, and 45 points by themselves. The Hokies have scored a lot of points, too. 33, 55, 35, and 30 in their last game of Virginia. I don't know why this total's only 46 points. It's screaming toward the over. So let's play it. Over 46 points in the Belk Bowl.
A little Belk Bowl history for you. The Memphis Tigers got suspended for this game a few years ago for actually stealing from a Belk store right before the game.
Impressive.
Very impressive. Big thanks to Matt Sells. This is what high quality production is all about. He's just feeding us the information here. Still not on the Tony the Tiger Bowl yet. We're going to move to the Sun Bowl. Mm-hmm. Arizona State, the ASU STDs going up against the Florida State Seminoles. Arizona State, 4.5-point favorites in this one. What do we got going on here? Florida
Yeah,
State. Oh, running back Cam Akers sitting this one out, buddy.
yeah, if Florida State, Willie Taggart got fired, and Norvell's going to come over and coach them as soon as the game is over. Don't love taking the pack at all, but we're going to do it in this game. A rare non-fade here. FSU played awful all season long. I think the line should be higher. Arizona State has the extra motivation. They haven't won a bowl game in 5 years. Herm Edwards is the coach. Look, ASU was good enough to beat Oregon, Howard. So why wouldn't they be good enough to beat FSU, a downtrodden team all season long? That, again, do they really care if they're in this game or not? I don't think so. I think the game is bigger for Arizona State. It's probably going to be close. Because Arizona State's not a great offensive team, but they've come up big in some games this year, and because of the extra motivation there, we'll pick Arizona State minus the 4.5. I don't think FSU, deserves to be anywhere close in this game, but because ASU's offense isn't great, it probably will be.
All right. ASU, lay the points, take a Z-Pack afterwards. You're all set. Liberty Bowl up next. This was a big one for us here, Craig. You got K-State, Kansas State going up against Navy, two teams that you and I used a lot this season. Navy's a 2.5-point favorite. I will not deviate from the midshipmen.
You want to take Navy? All right.
I'm taking Navy personally here. You can tell me where you want to lean on this one. But for me, I'm telling you flat out, I am going to take – it's a 52 is the over-under here. So I'm going to say the under. I'm going to say Navy comes.
I know. This feels just like the Army-Navy game. It does, except for Kansas State's better than Army, and they can throw the ball a little bit. So the total in the Army-Navy game was 41. This game is 52. I would expect Kansas State to score 2 touchdowns in this game. I would be shocked if they didn't. Navy's 5-0, last 5 games in the Bowls against the spread, but Kansas State's really come on at the end of the season. We'll go with your pick in the pools, and we'll take Navy minus 2.5.
Darn right we will. I won't deviate. I won't do it. It's been good for me all season long. I'm not going to lie. All right, so the Arizona Bowl does not have anybody from Arizona playing in it. It is Georgia State against Wyoming.
You got me. This is one of those tough ones. Yeah.
Wyoming's a 7-point favorite in this one. Is it that tough? Because listen, it's a 48.5 over under. And we're not looking at these offensive juggernauts here.
No, we're not. And Wyoming's quarterback's playing with a torn ACL if he does play in this game. Georgia State lost by 14 to Louisiana Monroe. They lost by 29 to Appalachian State. They lost by 28 to Georgia Southern.
Who loses to Georgia Southern by 28 points?
They're not terrible.
They're not.
I would love to back Georgia State. I guess if I was in a pool, I would take Georgia State because the quarterback for Wyoming, 1 hit to the knee, and he's not going to play the rest of the game. We saw that in a bowl game last year, by the way. I'm going to lean toward the under 48.5 in this.
All right. I'll get you out of that one and bring you over to the Alamo Bowl.
This is a good game.
Right? Texas, Utah. These are 2 really strong teams. Utah, like you said, was competing for the chip, a spot in the playoffs.
Right there.
Didn't work out. This is a good bowl for them, though.
It is. Problem is that neither team wants to be here. Utah thought they were going to play for the championship. Texas thought they'd be in a much better spot, like playing in the Sugar Bowl like they were last year. Texas was a huge disappointment. They lost their last 3 straight games on the road to end the season. Utah lost to Oregon. They completely bungled that game. So I think these teams just want to get out of there. I don't think they have a lot of momentum in this. This is a New Year's Eve game. The better bet here, I think, is probably is that the quarterback of Texas, Erlinger, who doesn't really go deep, just a lot of crossing routes. A tough Utah defense, and if Utah's going to win, Zach Moss has got to run the ball 30 times. I'm going to play the under. I like the under here, 55 points. One of my favorites, under 55. Too many points here. Okay. A Utah game with 55 points, got to be under. They're not going to get sloshed like they did against Oregon. That's not going to happen.
All right. I believe you. All right, in another unmotivated bowl game to watch, Citrus Bowl, you got Michigan against Alabama. And you and I actually talked about this on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio earlier today. How does Alabama get up for a bowl game like this?
I don't know. We're going to find out. Because of all the years, this is the most interesting one, I think, for Nick Saban. They've been playing in this playoff for BCS and championship, and then finally they had the hiccup, not against LSU, but the hiccup against Auburn that knocked them out. And they played very well against Auburn. And, their backup quarterback played very well against Auburn. But I don't see the motivation here for Alabama. You got their. I can't believe Jerry Jeudy's going to play in this game. Good for him, to play and show himself off for the NFL. I'm shocked, honestly, that anybody would play for Alabama after they saw what happened to their quarterback in Tua. Maybe they're playing for Tua in this one. I don't know. Diggs, first-round pick, not playing. Lewis, first-round pick, not playing, both on defense. Maybe no more. Maybe this is it, and in a week and a half, all the other guys who say they're playing for Alabama will play. We'll see. Michigan is still a top 10 defense, but Alabama had no issue with LSU's defense a couple of weeks ago. But I think more players sit out of this game for Alabama. I can't see it that they're just going to play. And by the way, what happens in the second half of this game, too? Do they play? I cannot back Alabama here. I want to take the points and Michigan. I just think it's the right side. Take Michigan +7.
I'm fine with that. Outback Bowl on New Year's Day. My Minnesota Golden Gophers going up against Auburn. Auburn's a -7-point favorite. Golden Gophers they had that big game that big win against Penn State.
And then it was over.
And then,
and then it was over.
Then I don't know what happened to them.
They fell apart completely. Yeah, they fell apart. They lost to Iowa. They beat Northwestern, but they didn't cover. Wisconsin beat them badly. First New Year's Day bowl game for Minnesota since 2014, so that's cool. But Gus Malzahn, the coach of Auburn, is very good, and he seems to be treating this one seriously. He's been very serious in all of his press conferences and talks about how important this game is to him. And this is also, as he said, a very big recruiting game for him as well. I hate to lay 7 points in a bowl game on a neutral site. SEC versus Big Ten, I do lean for the SEC. So maybe in a pool, I would take Auburn, but I have no opinion at all in this game. Outback Bowl's had a lot of teams that have covered as big underdogs, but Howard, they used to play the Outback Bowl years ago as part of this last 10 years at 11 a.m., and that was part of it, and they're not doing that anymore for good reason. But that game used to be like 0-0 at the half, 7-0 at the half. I mean, 11 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast? So they moved it back smartly, but no play for me on the Outback Bowl. Stay away.
They couldn't lure in Sleep Train to help co-promote, huh? Is that what it was?
Is that a name of a bowl too?
It might as well be. Rose Bowl. Here we go. Your Pac-12 champions against your Big Ten champions. Is that where we're at right now? Sort of, kind of. Oregon against Wisconsin. The Badgers are a 3-point favorite in this one. It opened up at 2.5, moved up to 3. Talk to me.
I want to take Oregon so badly in this one. I really do. I want to see Herbert have a good game. I want to see him take that next step. I want to see the Pac-12 represent, and I'll lean toward Oregon, but I can't take them as a pick. Last 5 bowl games for Wisconsin, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. And surprisingly, the Pac-12's actually done okay in the Rose Bowl. Not last year. Ohio State blew them out. Oregon, but this is why I can't figure this one out, because Oregon made Utah look really slow, and I feel like they could make Wisconsin look really slow. But Herbert hasn't strung together these awesome games back to back. So I'm just going to lean Oregon and say to take them in the pools. But remember, the last time I leaned Oregon, the quarterback of Auburn ran down the field at the end of the game and beat them. A lot of the Pac-12 feels like the Chargers in a way. They always disappoint you in the end. So just a lean toward Oregon in this one.
All right, here we go. Next up is the Sugar Bowl, also known as the Bridesmaids Bowl. Baylor against Georgia. Georgia Bulldogs 6.5-point favorite here. All the money's coming in on Baylor, and you think that's the right side?
Yeah, I mean Georgia. I mean, come on, what are they playing for? I mean, really, this has got to be the least motivated team going into a bowl game of any of the teams in college football. They were in this game last year, Howard, 7-point favorites. They lost the game outright. This just means so much to Baylor to cap off the season with a win. Georgia has their tackle out, their top 3 pick in the draft. Andrews is not playing in this game. Baylor's covered 5 straight games. It's a shame you can't get 7 points anymore in this game because I really do like Baylor a lot. So Baylor is definitely the pick, +6.5. What is Georgia playing for at this point? Like nothing. Baylor's playing for a lot. This is where the motivation comes in on this one, big time.
All right, let's move it over to the Birmingham Bowl. Cincinnati. Speaking of, we were talking earlier about Jim Bowden. Well, guess what? Jim Bowden does actually have a connection here. His son does work for the defensive back. He's one of the defensive backs coaches for the Bearcats. They are 7-point favorites over BC. What are you looking at this one?
A good spot for Boston College in terms of getting points because they've done that and played well all season, but their best player is not in the game. This is the most important player maybe in the Bulls not playing. A.J. Dillon, 1,400 yards, top 3 running back in the country. We'll be talking a lot about him next year in the NFL. He pulled out of the game. Why? Their coach got fired. Adazio. They lost 4 of their last 5 games to end the season. Cincinnati doesn't play a lot of defense. I get that. But they did lose to Memphis the last 2 games of the year, a team I like a lot in Memphis, but Cincinnati covered both spreads. So This will be a rare favorite that we will take here. It's going against the trend because BC has been able to put up some offensive points, but that was with their best player, and he's not in the game. I can't back them. I got to take Cincinnati -7 in this.
Okay. Gator Bowls next up. Tennessee, 1.5 favorites over Indiana. This one here, it's got slow motion written all over. Like you know that Bugs Bunny episode where the mad scientist breaks the ether and then they go running after each other? That's kind of how I feel this game's going to look.
Yeah, these are 2 teams that played well at the end of the season to get into this bowl game. Why these last few bowl games are where they are, I'm not really sure. I would have much rather seen the Sugar Bowl or the Orange Bowl or something on the second. I'm not really sure why this happened. I'll have to ask somebody. But Jawan Jennings, the top player maybe on both teams, the offensive, one of the best players in the SEC, first team, suspended for the first half of this game. Okay. So that will definitely slow the game down. He's their best player, you would think. Indiana hasn't won a bowl game since I graduated high school, 1991. The Vols have won 5 straight games to end the season. I don't think this is going to be an exciting game, but it will be fun for both teams because Tennessee's trying to show that they're coming back to college football a little bit. Indiana's playing in their first bowl game in a long time and trying to win their first bowl game in 30 years or whatever it is. So I'm going to lean toward the under in this one, 51.5 points, but I don't really have a strong opinion on the side. If I had to, I would just strictly go with the SEC because they cover 55% of the bowls. So,
all right. Well, now we're about to hit some shaky ground because now we got 3 bowl games. We got 3 bowl games that we've got to talk about here because these are being played after New Year's Day, before the national championship. They are 6 teams that nobody has interest in. No. And to try and predict games that are this far out. I mean, we're talking 3 weeks out. So to be able to sit there and try and really pick this one here, these are all 3 are going to be no picks. We might be able to give you a lean here and there somewhere, but the bottom line is that there's so many things that can happen between now and these games. Players suspended, players sitting out, whatever the case may be. These next 3 games, just take them with a grain of salt. These are not. Craig and I will do a live stream later on, like when we're in the middle of
we'll have picks
have
for
a better
for the Golden
read.
Nugget or something. But I mean, the other thing too is that the kids who are getting in, remember they're probably arriving in their cities like the day before New Year's Eve, and so that's ripe for suspensions from any of these kids. We've seen that in the past. So really difficult to handicap college football games 3 weeks in advance. And I know we've done it for all of the other games and we've done our best, but in particular, with 6 teams that are all huge favorites, that a lot can happen. Like you take one of these big favorites and then a kid doesn't play or something happens, you're going to get destroyed in these games. So the Idaho Potato Bowl, this is on the field in Boise, I assume.
Famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Yeah.
Let's get it right.
Ohio had a great year. They're 7.5 point favorites against Nevada. I would lean toward taking the points. On the 4th, the day after the 3rd, we have the 4th, the Armed Forces Bowl. Tulane has had a really nice season. They've been able to run the ball very well. They've scored a lot of points. They probably have a little bit more motivation because Southern Mississippi is just not a good football team. The total is 56.5. I'd probably lean in the last couple of games, Howard, toward the over. Because just meaningless games, teams not playing any defense. I just can't believe that our bowl pools are going to all come down to these games. And the final game is the Alabama Bowl, Louisiana Lafayette. minus 14
against Miami of Ohio.
Against Miami, Ohio. And we'll lean on the over 55.5. And it's not that I'm not educated on these teams, because we've had these games and we've had these teams involved in almost all of our pools and what we've done. But I think it'd be irresponsible to tell people to, unless there's a huge edge of something that I'm not aware of, to wager on a single game 3 weeks in advance. Like, it's just really too far out for me to have strong opinions on. So if you're doing a pool, it would be the dog taking Nevada plus 7.5 against Ohio U. It would be taking the favorite Tulane against Southern Mississippi. And again, because the trend says to, taking the favorite of Louisiana Lafayette against Miami, Ohio. They're 14-point favorites for a reason. Vegas made them 14 points over that team, and usually those teams have covered the big favorites in the bowls. And that closes out officially our bowl games.
Wow, look at that. See that? About an hour. Not bad at all. Any final thoughts here? What was your favorite one out of all of them? That was real. It was so long ago in this live stream. I almost
it was like 3 weeks ago. I like Wake Forest. I like Wake Forest against Michigan State. That's one of them. I like the under in that Utah-Texas game. 55 points seems way too high in that game. Those are the top two, I'll say. And yeah, I'll stop there. I mean, I don't want to.
Oh, San Diego State.
I like San Diego State this weekend.
Boom.
Yep, I like San Diego State. Although if you're playing online somewhere, illegally or legally, however you do it, I'd buy a half, get your 3. That's not going to be a high scoring game.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, that's good.
I like Clemson too. I like Clemson also. I do like Clemson.
You got a way too early prediction for who the national champion is?
Well,
you're gonna put on LSU?
I think LSU will beat Oklahoma. I think Clemson will beat Ohio State. I think LSU will be LSU. What will they be? They will be 2.5 point favorites over Clemson, and it'll probably go down. It'll probably end up being like 1.5 points. It's gonna be real close. But LSU will be favorites in the national championship.
All right,
and we'll take Clemson.
And we'll take Clemson. See, I like Clemson. Where your head's at.
Unless somebody gets hurt.
Or suspended.
What are the odds that no kid is suspended before any of these games go off?
0% chance. 0% chance.
I mean, that is a big part of doing this. But I know a lot of people have to have their picks in for the bowls by tomorrow. So, hopefully you're in one of those where you can make changes as they go. It used to be you couldn't make any changes. Now in a lot of the bowl setups you can, and it doesn't lock you in for all of them if you feel like making a change. There are some commissioners who don't like that because you could kind of map out the bowls and see, oh, well, if I switch, I have a chance to win. If I go contrarian on all these, it gives me a chance to win as I wouldn't have. But, to each his own, however you decide.
All right. Well, there you go. Before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to Monkey Knife Fight, our live stream sponsor. Go to fantasyalarm.com/monkey if you like your prop pick games. They're going to have them all over the place here for the end of the NFL season. They could very well have them all here in the bowl game. So check it out, fantasyalarm.com/monkey. Want to give a big thanks to Matt Sells, our producer. Craig, as always, first-rate information. Love doing the bowl game special with you. Thank you so much, and appreciate everything that you bring to the table.
All right. Thank you, Howard, of course. And then we'll talk tomorrow night, as we've already turned in our picks for the weekend for the Golden Nugget, and then we'll do the Super Contest picks. So we'll talk to everybody tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern.
There you go. That's going to do it for us here at the Wager Alarm live stream. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. We'll catch you next time.